Okay, over the next 2 days, we're going to cover all of adulthood. There are three stages in adulthood: early adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood, starting around 25 or so and lasting till death. Early adulthood, we probably would say, is going to be from about 25 to 40, maybe even younger, depending on when adolescence really ends for an individual. Remember, you're in emerging adulthood, which shares a lot of similarities with adolescence and a lot of similarities with early adulthood. But up until around age 40 is when early adulthood is going to take place. Middle adulthood is going to be from about age 40 to about age 65, midlife. So it's a very large stage, 25 years roughly. And then late adulthood is going to be typically around that age 65 and older through death there. So early, middle, and late adulthood. Today we're just going to focus very briefly on some physical and cognitive changes in adulthood, throughout adulthood. I would encourage you to download the handout, the overview of adult development. You can follow along, take some notes on that. That's what we'll go through today and tomorrow. We live in a time that is really interesting because a lot of our adulthood stages are blurred. We live in a time where age lines don't necessarily mean what they might have once meant. We can give the example of that of a 35-year-old who becomes a new mother for the first time versus her neighbor who might also be 35 but might be a grandmother at that time. So age lines are kind of blurred, but we do see some commonalities, some similarities across adulthood that we can kind of generalize and talk to. So when we talk physical changes, there's changes that are happening throughout adulthood. What we're seeing physically is decline. This isn't a rapid decline. This isn't something where you wake up overnight and all of a sudden your body doesn't function anymore. This is very gradual, slow decline that really begins in early adulthood, becomes more evident in middle adulthood, and then obviously is fairly evident in late adulthood. There's different aspects to that decline. Strength and muscle tone are going to decrease. The ratio of fat to lean is going to increase. Our skin is going to lose its elasticity. Our brain cells are going to decrease. Our connections between cells are going to continue, and as long as there's active brain use through late adulthood, that connection is going to continue. But the brain cells will decrease, and there's going to be a decrease in our bone mass. So lots of decline, but again, not overnight. This happens gradually throughout our adulthood. What we do know is in young adulthood, we're in prime physical condition. We're in our prime health, so enjoy it. You're right there. You're in the prime right now. Middle adulthood, I just turned 40. We see an increase in acute health problems. I've spent a lot of time in the doctor just in the last 7 months since I turned 40. So, that acute health problems. And then in late adulthood, we see an increase in chronic health problems, those more severe types of health problems. Now, what we do know about health is that our health in our early adulthood stage is very predictive of our health in our late adulthood stage. And so the habits that we form when we are younger are going to be predictive of good health when we are older, or bad health when we are older, depending upon what those habits are. We know that high stress throughout adulthood can lead to some negative health outcomes. We know personality type is tied to health outcomes, and we know that our health habits, exercise, diet, low stress, social engagement, all of those types of things play a key role in how we age. And so good health habits are going to help us age physically well, cognitively well, socially well, emotionally well, etc., etc. Okay, let's talk a minute about cognitive changes. We've made it through the 4 stages of Piagetian thought, his theory. However, there are some disciples of Piaget who have put forth the idea that maybe there needs to be a fifth stage, which we call post-formal thought. Post-formal thought, people may or may not achieve post-formal thought. What post-formal thought is moving beyond the formal operations, and it's going to incorporate things like social responsibility and emotional and interpersonal awareness into cognitive processes. And it's definitely going to be more pragmatic than the earlier stage of formal operational thinking. It's going to result in interpretive thought and wisdom, and we would say that post-formal thinkers have a greater understanding of the gray areas of life. And again, not everybody's going to reach this level. Now, much like physical, we will see some cognitive declines as well. Typically, our fluid intelligence, our speed, our accuracy, our spatial orientation, our ability to gain new knowledge, those things are going to decrease as we get older. However, our verbal IQ, our problem solving, and our ability to use the knowledge that we have stored is going to increase as we get older. And so getting older doesn't mean that our brain's just going to stop working and we're not going to be able to cognitively process anything anymore. We know adolescents and young adults are going to be a lot better at speed learning. That's why you guys are so good at cramming. Middle-aged people are going to be a lot better at verbal and reasoning skills. And then as we get into late adulthood, we will see some of that decline as far as processing speed and maybe even some memory decline. But we're still going to be able to use what we already know. So that is physical and cognitive development through adulthood in a nutshell. Tomorrow we will talk about psychosocial development in adulthood in a nutshell as well. Have a good day.